Hello gathered friends and welcome back to the channel. Now, you probably wouldn't have guessed this just by the type of music that I normally have on the channel, but for quite a few years now, I have actually been a pretty big fan of the band known as 21 Pilots. And if I'm being completely honest, I really only have my sisters to thank for introducing me to their music, which around this time would have been when Blurry Face was still their most recent album. Now, since then, they have released 3 more albums, being Trench, Scaled and Icy, and the newest album that they are currently on tour for, Clancy. Now, why am I talking about 21 Pilots, you may ask? Well, as I mentioned just now, the band is currently on tour for Clancy, and because of that, I was finally granted an opportunity to go see them. So I thought I'd just kind of sit back and just do a little, almost like a little concert review, because really and truly I had no clue what a 21 Pilots concert was actually like. So with that being said, welcome gathered friends to my official concert review of 21 Pilots. Now, the first thing that I wanted to mention before we get started is I try to keep everything as organized as possible as far as what I want to talk about, but I also do kind of feel like I'm gonna be jumping back and forth to a lot of different different parts in the concert. Second thing, and this is something that I really want you to keep in the back of your noggin, is that while Clancy is not a traditional concept album, it does continue a story that, unbeknownst to me, actually started all the way back in Trench. So yeah, just keep it in the back of your mind. Clancy tells a story. Last thing is, I will not be going over every single thing that happened during the concert, mainly because I feel like that would just make the video a lot longer than I feel like it really needs to be. And secondly, I just don't want to spoil all the cool stuff that they do on this tour. So, with all that out of the way, let's get started. Now, I went to go see the band at the Moody Center in Austin, Texas, and this was the first show that I've seen in that venue. And honestly, it's a decent sized stadium. It's not too big, it's not too small, it's just a decent size.
That's what she said.
I'm talking about 21 Pilots, but I just want to give a little bit of lore about me, is that I was raised on bands like Kiss, Motley Crue, bands that, had a particular look. And what I've noticed about shows like that, where the band has a particular look or theme to them, is that looking at the crowd, it's almost like going to a mini Comic-Con, except everyone is dressed as the exact same thing. And with 21 Pilots, it was really no exception, because I looked at, some of the people around me, and a lot of them, man, they put a lot of hard work and dedication into, how they looked, because, you had some people that, they just kept it real simple. They had like the red stripes on their shoulders, or the yellow ones, like the Banditos. But then you had other people that went even further beyond than that, because some of them, they were dressed up like they had the full costume that Tyler's character Clancy wears. Like, they had the mask, the jacket, the little weird scarf thing that just says Clancy all up and down. It was really cool. I like seeing, when fans show their dedication to a band like that. Now, they did have an opening band called Balu Brigada. I apologize if I butchered that name. And sadly, I don't have a real opinion on them, because by the time they went up on stage and started playing their set, me, my mom, and my sisters were still outside waiting in line to get in the venue. And it was a pretty long line, so I knew it was gonna be a hot minute before we actually got into the venue. And by the time we did get in, got our snacks, found our seats, and got settled in, the band was already pretty much on their last song, which honestly wasn't bad, considering the fact that that was the only one that I got to hear. So the band wraps up their song, they take their leave, they, hype the crowd up for 21 Pilots, and then they move on to wherever they're going after this. Then the lights come back on and the wait begins, which was about, if memory serves me correctly, it was about maybe 30-40 minutes, but I could feel that excitement kind of building up through the air like electricity, because now it was time for 21 Pilots. So, not much happened before the band went up. One of the roadies did a quick sound check for Josh's drums, and people cheered for that, which I always thought was kind of funny when people cheer for the sound check. Now don't get me wrong though, I feel like roadies and techs and like any type of road crew should definitely be applauded just for all the hard work they do. Because in my opinion, they are like the backbone of live shows. The whole stadium started doing the wave at one point, and I'll admit I participated, but after like the third or fourth time, I was like, okay, y'all got it from here. I'm sitting the rest of it out. They did raise a giant curtain up and to cover the stage, and instantly, and there was nothing on the curtain, but I just instantly thought of Kiss and how they'd have that giant curtain with their logo above it, and it would drop down as soon as the band started playing. And speaking of bands that finally went up on stage and started playing, after all that waiting, the lights go off and the crowd just erupts.
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm. What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure?
Now, on each side of the stage, they had these two screens, and on these screens, they were playing the intro along with the music video for Clancy's opening track, Overcompensate. But the live version of the music video is actually different from the actual music video, because in the live version, not only did they have the intro video playing, but they also had different clips from other music videos that have to do with the story of Clancy, like kind of like interjected in between every now and then. So to me, I thought it was pretty cool, because it was almost like a previously on segment that you'd see just before a TV show started. Now, 21 Pilots has a knack, I've noticed, for opening up their albums with probably the most hype track you could ever hear to kick off an album, and Overcompensate is that song for Clancy, because it starts off with like this very ominous piano chords, and then it goes into this really intense synth part. So that intro playing with the video, I could just feel that excitement just building. It was like electricity. I could just I could feel it all around me at this point. So the intro's playing, and then without warning, or at least without warning to me, because I wasn't all that familiar with the song yet, because I didn't actually listen to the album until like the day before the concert, I hear this loud, booming voice say over the speakers, "Welcome back to Trench." So the minute I hear "Welcome back to Trench," that's when the song just kicks off into high gear, and their drummer Josh Dunn is just going off on this really sick beat.
Welcome back to Trench.
And the minute he goes into it, the curtain drops down, and the excitement is at an all-time high. It just looks super cool. You had all these red lights flashing down on him as he was playing, and I just want to go ahead and put it on record that I love watching Josh Dunn play, because he reminds me a lot of Travis Barker from Blink-182 in the way that no matter what type of song he's playing, be it a fast song or a slow song, he is always just so animated, just firing on all cylinders. So after a couple of bars of the beat that Josh was playing, the song actually goes into a tempo change, and this is when Tyler, and the reason I refer to him like that I will get to here pretty shortly, Tyler jumps out onto the stage, and they finish the song, and they play two more after that. No, they play three more after that, with the third one being Car Radio. And during the middle part of Car Radio, Tyler gets up onto this raised platform. He gets up on that platform, and he jumps into this giant hole behind the platform. Now, I imagine to the people in the pit, it was supposed to look like he just disappears into the stage, but because where I was, we were so high up, I could see the hole behind the platform. Now, as soon as Tyler disappears into that hole, all the lights shut off except for one shining down on one of the nosebleed entrances across the stadium from us, and standing there at the base of those stairs on this like little platform is the real Tyler Joseph. And he's just standing there, not menacingly, but he's just looking around at everyone in the audience, and then he takes off his mask, revealing that it is in fact Tyler Joseph, and they finish off the rest of Car Radio that way with him standing up there. And when that happened, I thought the crowd was already going wild, but the minute he did that little disappearing act, it was just like, whoa! So they finish Car Radio, and as soon as the song ends, the lights shut off, and in the time that Tyler is making his way back to the stage, on the two screens they showed a little video, you know, of fans that were there at the venue earlier on in the day, and it kind of went into like this little tribute video of all these fans singing the next song, which was The Judge, which went into the actual band playing The Judge, and I just thought that was a really cool thing for the band to do, but I just could not stop thinking about Tyler's little disappearing, teleporting act, because, again, I have never watched a single 21 Pilots concert, so I had no clue what I was really getting myself into, and after that, I just thought to myself, oh yeah, I am in for such a good show tonight. Now, as far as the actual set list goes, in my opinion, it was probably the most perfect set list they could have ever done, because they did what I think any band that's been around for a very long time should do, and that was play their early material, like back at the beginning of, you know, whenever that band started. Because, one, it's a good way of acknowledging the fans that have been there with you since day one, and two, it's a great way to introduce newer fans that might not be familiar with that stuff to those songs. And in the case of 21 Pilots, that would be their very first two albums, being their self-titled album and Regional at Best. My personal favorite from that era is the song Forest, which they did play that night, which I was super happy about. Now, of course, as most bands that are on tour promoting an album do, a good majority of the songs in this set list were from Clancy, and of the 13 songs on that album, they played 11 of them, so they were just 2 songs short of playing the whole thing. Now, I really do hope, because I love the whole album. I think the whole album is just fantastic. But I really hope the next tour that they do, I really hope, even if they have to switch a song out, I really hope they start playing At the Risk of Feeling Dumb. Now, I don't mind if they switch a song out to make that happen. Just make sure that song is not Vignette. Now, most bands that I've seen, either live or like on TV or YouTube or whatever, they will play a couple of songs, talk to the audience for a little bit, and then play a few more songs. 21 Pilots didn't necessarily do that, because what they would do, depending on which song it was, is sometimes they wouldn't even technically end a song, they would just blend it right into the next one that they were going to play. And they did that quite a bit, which honestly, it kind of made it fun, because you could never guess which song they were going to play next. You know, especially if the next song that they went into was one that you were either really looking forward to hearing or one that you were at least hoping they would play. And for me, going back to the beginning of the show, that was when, as soon as they ended Overcompensate, they went right into Holding On to You. And then from Holding On to You, they went right into what is personally my favorite song from Clancy, Vignette. So yeah, like I said before, it was a perfect set list. Every album, and I do mean every album, got a little bit of love. You know, there was a few songs that I wanted to hear them play, but they didn't. But at the same time, there was a lot of songs that they did play that I wanted them to hear, or that I wanted them to play. What, silly me. Basically, I was happy with what I got, and if y'all are still watching, I wanna add one more thing before we move on. Stop booing during Oldie Station! Tyler wrote that song for you! And this is how you thank him?! Now, once again, I want to mention that I have never, actually watched a 21 Pilots concert, be it on TV or YouTube or anything like that, so I didn't know what to expect. I can tell you, however, that I was not expecting a show on the same production level as bands like Motley Crue or Metallica. There was way more pyro than I expected there to be, which was none. Like when they did Jumpsuit and it got to the part where the song really kicks off, Tyler jumps off of the raised platform that I mentioned earlier, and the minute he lands, these big pillars of flame just shoot up from the stage, and I felt my jaw drop.
Fire! 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 Fire!
Like, for a split second, I had to do a double take to make sure I was still at a 21 Pilots concert and not a Metallica concert. And alongside the two giant screens that were on either side of the stage, they had this giant screen right behind them, and the visuals that they had for songs were honestly pretty cool. Sometimes they would match, if the song they played had a music video, the visuals would match the theme of whatever that video was. And if not, sometimes it would match the album that it's from, or sometimes it was just whatever they thought fit that song. So yeah, it was really cool to see all the different graphics and visuals and animations that they worked on. I just thought it looked really cool, and I thought it really enhanced the show. Alright, now is the time where I remind y'all that while Clancy is not your traditional concept album, it does continue a story. And at random points throughout the show, they would do these little story bits, I guess, and it would just completely change the tone of the whole show for that brief moment. 1 minute, we're all dancing and singing, and everyone's just having a good time. We're all happy, and then it gets ominous and scary because somehow Josh is standing on the stairs, and he's in this really ominous looking hood, and he's got a torch for some reason. And again, it's because I never looked up any previous concert before that for this tour. It was all just so unexpected, and I could never figure out when stuff like that was gonna happen. At one point, I think it's when Josh is standing on the steps with his torch, him and Tyler walk back to the stage, and they stand and look at this giant inflatable of the city that Clancy takes place in called Dima, and it just looked so dope because it just looked so intimidating. These giant, concrete cylinders representing the city. It was just wow. So despite being on the right, but what would be the band's left side of the stage, I could actually still hear everything clearly, almost like I was like right in the middle of the stadium. Everything was mixed perfectly, and that might be largely due to the fact that while Josh is actually playing his drums and Tyler is constantly juggling between three instruments at any given point during the show, there is still so much going on musically in their songs that everything else just has to be played on tracks. Now, I know in these last few years, a lot of people, prompted or not, have kind of made their feelings known about about artists who use tracks live. But for me personally, in the case of 21 Pilots, I didn't have a problem with it because I knew that whatever instrument they were playing, they were actually playing. There was one thing that happened during the show, and I think it was during the first time that Tyler and Josh went out onto these two platforms that were out there in the pit for each of them. You know, Josh got on his platform and Tyler was making his way to his own platform, and they were doing routines in the night. Now, during, if I remember correctly, the first verse of the song, like somewhere around that point in the song, I could actually hear the mic'd audio of Josh hitting his hi-hat with the actual hi-hat, like with the actual sound of him hitting the hi-hat, and it, for like a brief moment, it created this really weird echo, like if you put a delay effect on it and you just hit it like by 1 second off from what the effect had been programmed to. Now, of course, I did not think it was anything bad, like a malfunction of equipment or something like that. I just simply chalked it up to sound traveling differently in the venue because Josh was a lot closer to us than he was before. Honestly, my main takeaway from that is that because I could hear the actual hi-hat despite being so high up in the venue, that just really kind of told me that Josh just beats his kit like it owes him money. And looking at how much SJC drums and Zildjian cymbals cost, that kid owes him a lot of money. So, the one thing that I've never liked about concerts, besides the outrageous concession prices, is that feeling of knowing the fun is going to come to an end eventually. And I really had that feeling heavy during this concert, because I really did not want it to end, and clearly everyone else in the audience didn't want it to end either, because there was not a single moment during the concert where you did not hear everyone singing along to every single word for every single song. But alas, the end came when the band, going out onto their little platforms for one last time, ended the show with their song, Trees. Now, they didn't just play the song and dip, they actually involved the crowd this time, because in like the middle buildup of the song, Tyler and Josh each have like this bass drum on their platform, so they pick up the bass drums and they hand them to the audience members in front of them so they can hold them up. Then they grab some mallets, they grab like a water bottle, they pour the water on the head, like the batter head of the drum, and they're kind of hyping the crowd up a little more. They're like tapping their sticks to the beat, and once the big climax hits, they start banging on the drums, and almost all the lights are on. There's confetti shooting up into the air. There's water flying up from the drum head, and it was really something to watch. It was really something to watch, man. And that's kind of when I had that moment that I have at like any random point during the concert where I just have to like just kind of like take myself out of it for a second, look around at everything that's going on, and thinking to myself, oh my god, I'm actually watching this. I'm living this right now. So, sadly, the song ends and Tyler and Josh make their way back to the stage. You know, they stand next to each other, you know, they put their arms around each other, they take a bow, and when they come back up, Tyler ends the show with his iconic line of, "We are 21 Pilots and so are you." And with that, they take their leave and the show is over. Now, nothing too interesting happened afterwards. I actually got this cap and I got this pretty cool shirt at the venue. It's got all the cities that they played at on the back. So we get home around midnight, which wouldn't have been so bad if not for the fact that I have to wake up at 4 in the morning to get ready for work. So yeah, not taking the day off was a very regrettable choice, but at the same time, it was still worth it for the concert. It was worth it for the band. Overall thoughts? This is probably one of the best concert experiences that I've ever been a part of. Would I pay money to see them again? Oh, absolutely. Without even a second thought. You know, almost all bands that I've seen, you know, you get the feeling that they value their fans, you know, they appreciate them. But with 21 Pilots, you could tell that they genuinely appreciate and care for their fans. And after finally being able to see them live in person and, you know, experiencing a full 21 Pilots concert, I can easily see why their music and honestly just their existence means so much to people. You know, they're serious about their craft, but they never take themselves too seriously. Like, it's so easy for them to have the entire stadium bawling in tears to a song like Oldie Station, and then the next minute they've got us cackling because they're standing next to each other with their arms locked and they're walking down the stage while Lavish is playing. They're just a band that really likes to have fun, and they want their fans to have fun too. So even though I didn't become a fan of them until their 4th album in, I am so glad that a band like 21 Pilots exists. Well, I feel like I've done enough yapping, so I am going to go ahead and wrap up this video. I do want to say that as of filming this, I have already gone to another concert that I had planned after 21 Pilots, and I will do a video on that. I will do a concert review on that, but I will not say who the band is until that video comes out. I really hope you all liked this video. This is my first concert review ever, and it might be painfully obvious that it is just such, but I really would like to do more of these in the future. But until then, thank you all so much for stopping by, and have a good one.